Ready, students? Student? Line पे? Okay, students. Again, I'll start. Okay. Morning, some problem. That's a we continue this. So now I will say again. But whatever told I morning, you should read again, or I can see. So respiratory distress in newborn. Why it is important? We should know about respiratory distress in newborn, because at birth long maturity not occur fully in newborns. Means long properly or fully not mature. Same time the respiratory center, the brain not fully mature. So that the baby immediate level, we are expecting the baby should be in distress. So if a baby after delivery in respiratory distress, we should support. So that we will reduce we will reduce morbidity, mortality, like, and also we will give a better life in future, so that the baby will not develop in chronic lung diseases in future. So that is our aim. So that we should know about respiratory distress in newborn. Accordingly, we have to support their life. So first we have to know what are the types of newborn. So according to gestations, newborns are classified as term baby, preterm baby, postterm baby. So from the beginning, from the preterm, I'll say. So preterm again divided into three: very preterm, early preterm, late preterm. Very preterm is those baby who are delivered before 32 weeks. Means 28 to 32 weeks is your very preterm baby. 32 to 34 weeks is your early preterm, and 34 to 36 weeks is your late preterm. Then what is term? Term baby is a completed 37 weeks to 40 weeks. So you have to say what is a term baby, or what is a term gestation. That is completed 37 weeks to 40 weeks is a term gestation. Then after 40 to 42 weeks is a, we'll say, is a post-dated baby. That is not post-term baby. These are post-dated babies. After 42 weeks, that is post-term weeks. So according to gestation, we classify this newborn baby as very preterm, early preterm, late preterm, term, post-dated, and post. You should remember all these just types of newborn according to gestation. Again, the babies are classified according to birth weight. Birth weight at birth. So according to normal babies should be at term 2.5 kilo to 3 kilo. So at term, a normal baby should be 2.5 to 3 kilo. So if it's less than 2.5 kg, then the baby is a low birth weight baby. So low birth weight baby is a from 1500 gram to 2,499 grams. So that baby is a low birth weight baby. Who is a VLB? VLBW means very low birth weight baby. Who is a VLBW baby? Those baby having weight 1,000 gram to 1,499 gram, means 1,000 to 1,499. These babies are very low birth weight. And extreme low birth weight, ELBW is extremely low birth weight. That is, these babies are having weight less than 1 kg. That is less than 999. Once the baby touch 1,000 means that baby is LBW. Once one baby is touch 1,500 means that baby is LBW. So 1,499 is a VLBW and 1,500 is a LBW. Which is large baby? Those baby having weight 4 kg at birth. These are large babies. Again, third classification, that is weight of the baby against gestational age. Okay, suppose we know that one term baby should be 2.5 kilo to 3 kilo at birth. At birth, one term baby should be 2.5 to 3 kilo. That is normal birth weight. So that is called appropriate for gestational age. That baby is appropriate. Suppose another baby delivered, term gestation, but that baby is supposed 2 kilo. Instead of 2.5 kilo, he is 2 kilo. Then that baby is small for that gestational age. Small for that age. Suppose term baby, term gestations, but the baby weight is 4 kilo. That baby is large for that gestation. Okay, so that is small for gestational age, appropriate for gestational age, and large for gestational age. So you have to remember these classifications and the type of baby according to this gestation, birth weight, again weight against your gestation. This is the classification of newborn baby. Next, respiration. What is respiration? Respiratory distress means difficulty in breathing. That is dyspnea. In medical term, this is dyspnea. Why there is distress? Either There is initiation of breathing difficulty, or even if breathing is there, the difficulty in maintaining the breath. So initiation of difficulty, the difficulty in initiation of breathing is that you say apnea or stoppage of breathing. So what is the cause of that apnea? Either there is depression of central nervous systems, or there is immaturity of the brain, or maybe there is a neuromuscular paralysis, maybe. But here in newborn, that's mostly, that is always central nervous system immaturity. So in preterm baby, you will get apnea of prematurity. That is due to immaturity of the brain stem in brain. So that these preterm baby are more prone for apnea. Okay. For difficulty in maintaining breathing, that is, so why that is either baby will present as tachypnea or hypopnea, or there's hyperventilation. What is tachypnea? Tachypnea is rapid breathing. Rapid breathing is rapid and shallow breathing. So you will get tachypnea any long parenchymal involvement or long parenchymal pathology of the long parenchyma. Hyperpnea is mostly it tells depth of breathing. Hyperpnea is depth of breathing, but it may or may not associate with rapid breathing. Okay. So then question is, why there is distress? So there's a distress. What is the terms we are using, or what are the presentation of the distress? Apnea, tachypnea, hypopnea. Then why there is distress? When there is any problem, why there is baby suffer from that distress? So what is the tidal volume? Tidal volume is a volume of air passes during inspiration and expiration in a single breath. In a single breath, volume of air passes through the lungs during inspiration and expiration. In single breath, so in adult it is 500 ml. So tidal volume is 500 ml in adult. In children it is 6 to 8 ml per kg. In newborn it is 4 to 6 ml per kg. So in children it is per kg. If you see in adult also, it will come as a 10 ml per kg, because average weight of a baby, average weight of a adult is 50 kg. So 10 ml per kg means 10 into 50, 500. Okay. So our body is to, when there is a difficulty in breathing, suppose our body is to maintain always minute ventilation. Our body is to maintain minute ventilation so that oxygenation will be proper in tissue level. Okay. So what is minute ventilation? Minute ventilation. Now, that is, what is the breathing rate in per minute in adult? In adult, the breathing rate is 18 to 20 per minute. Okay. So tidal volume is 500 ml, and that tidal volume 500 ml in single breath. So if 20 breath is, so 50 into 20, this is 1 liter. So minute volume is 1 liter. So body try to maintain that minute volume, so that oxygenation will at the tissue levels will be maintained. So what happened when there is distress? Distress means when there is any cause that leads to, suppose, decrease in tidal volume. Tidal volume in entry of air. Suppose there's covalent atresia, nasal block. Suppose here any obstruction. When there is any obstruction, the air entry to the lungs will decrease. So means the tidal volume is decreased. So but the body has to maintain minute volume, means 1 liter. So when there is, suppose, air entry is decreased, suppose 500 ml tidal volume, it decreased to suppose 300, then the rate will increase, so that its body will maintain 1 liter. Understood? Suppose in when tidal volume is 500 ml, your rate is 20, it is 100, 1000. When it is 500, it comes down to 300. The rate 20 will increase to 25 or 30, so that 1000 will come. So that is when there is decreased air entry due to some pathology, due to nasal block, or due to some anatomical defect, there is air entry, or some due to, suppose, long parenchyma involvement, like your pneumonia, pleural effusion, emphysema, or any pathology long parenchyma, when there is decrease in air entry. Even if air enter to the lungs is normal, the tidal volume is normal, but to carry this oxygen to the tissue level, suppose there is shock, there is decrease of volume, anemia. So carrying capacity also should be also required. So when this thing happen, then baby will present as distress, like tachypnea, hypopnea. So that is the cause why distress comes in newborn or in children also. This is the physiology. Then next is, what is the cause of distress? Cause means when there is entry of air is decrease. It's like these are the causes. It's obstruction of the airways, like choanal atresia, congenital stridor, that is bronchial stenosis, tracheal stenosis. That is when there is blockage. Then air entry is decreased. So when air entry is decreased, means tidal volume is decreased. So when tidal volume is decreased, rate will increase. So that's a baby that patient will tachypnea, hypopnea like this. Then again, lung parenchyma is pulmonary cause, extra pulmonary cause. Lung parenchyma disease, meconium aspiration, respiration. These are in newborns, or same also in children also. So and other vascular disease, or you will say cardiovascular disease, you will shock, anemia, the circulatory problems. These are the causes where the decrease of air entry to the lungs will decrease. That causes presentation as distress, as difficulty in breathing. So these are the causes of respiratory distress. The next, how baby will present. Even if it's in children, what are the presentation? What are the signs of respiratory distress in children? Not only in newborn, also in children. So there are 5 signs of respiratory. These are tachypnea, nasal flaring, grunting, intercostal retraction, sinuses. Tachypnea, as I told you now just now, that tachypnea, why there is tachypnea? Now it's nasal flaring. Nasal flaring means when there is decreased air entry. When there is decreased air entry, body tries to take more oxygen or more air. How to do this? So when there is decreased air, the body tries to increase the diameter. Means by increasing the diameter of the airway, it will reduce the resistance. So when there is a decrease in resistance, the airflow to the lungs will be increased. So main aim is to decrease resistance so that airflow will be more. And this decrease in resistance will be done by only dilatation, so that our nares are dilated. Our trachea, these are dilatation. That will present as externally as dilatation of nasal nares. That is called nasal flaring. See here in this picture, this is nasal flaring. There is dilatation of nasal nares. Then grunting. Why grunting? Grunting is an abnormal expiratory sound. It's abnormal sound. Why? So grunting authorized. Its definition of grunting is it is a abnormal expiratory sounds that is due to exhalation of air against a partially blocked epiglottis or partially closed epiglottis. So nasal grunting is a abnormal expiratory sounds due to exhalation of air against a partially closed epiglottis. Why this grunting? Body tries to maintain functional residual capacity of lungs. What is functional residual capacity? Functional residual capacity is the volume of air in the lungs or in the alveoli after complete passive expiration. After complete expiration, whatever the air inside alveoli, that is functional. Why it is necessary? Because functional residual capacity is necessary to maintain to prevent collapse of the alveoli, or it will always maintain the alveoli to pattern. So always it will little bit open the alveoli, so that when you will take little bit air, it is easily open. So aim of grunting is to, or why your body will do grunting, to maintain the functional residual capacity, thereby it will prevent collapse of the alveoli. So that less force will require to inhale, or less efforts will baby will do to inhale. Next is intercostal retraction. Why there is retraction? When there is respiratory distress, they will present as intercostal retraction. Because when there is after 4 to 6 hours fighting or increased work of breathing, what happens? The muscles are fatigued. So instead of they are expanding during inspiration, instead of they are expanding, what are they are sinking down. So that's why you will get retraction during respiratory distress. When there is increased fast of breathing, you will get retraction because of sinking of the intercostal muscles. Cyanosis, that is your bluish discoloration of the skin or mucous membrane of the body. Skin or mucous membrane. So you will get central cyanosis here. You will get tongue, lips, and nail beds. Okay. And when you will get cyanosis, when the arterial saturation decreases below 85%, you will get cyanosis. Okay, and what is peripheral cyanosis? Peripheral cyanosis due to use of oxygen by the tissue, peripheral tissue, like hand, your leg, and mostly that is due to vasospasm also. That is peripheral cyanosis. So these are the signs of respiratory distress. So these are the pictures. See here there is intercostal retractions, and this is cyanosis, or the baby is cyanotic. See, if there is no grunting, then that will be or baby will not maintain the functional residual capacity of FRC, then that baby will be collapse. All alveoli will be collapsed. With your maintenance of FRC, the all alveoli will be open. Okay, this is next. After signs of you have to know what are the scoring system. You should know severity of the distress. That is by some scoring systems. So Downes score is for torn babies and for children. That is Downes score. According to this score, you will know what is the severity of the distress and what you will do. Okay, so that is the parameter. What are the parameters of Downes score? These are 5 parameters. Same. What are the signs of respiratory? These are the parameters of Downes score, and the scores are 0, 1, 2. So total score is 10. When it is less than 4, there is no distress. When there is 4 to 7, means the baby is in distress or in impending failure. More than 7 means impending failure. So less than 4, no need to give oxygen. Once it's 4 to 7 means you have to start oxygen, and more than 7 means you have to start some positive pressure ventilations. This is the aim of to know the scoring system. So what are the parameters? Respiratory rate, retraction, cyanosis, air entry, grunting. These are the 5 parameters. This is for torn babies and children. For preterm babies, so another score is that is Silberman-Anderson score. Silberman-Anderson score for preterm babies. And here also we have taken here mainly 3 parameters. That is retraction, nasal flaring, and grunting. But here the retraction is divided again 3 parts. That is upper chest retraction, lower chest retraction, and Ziegfeld retractions. And here the score is 0, 1, 2. Here also total scoring is 10. So these are the reasons. You have to know that upper chest retraction, lower chest retraction, and Ziegfeld retraction. These are important for us. So when the score is 0 to 3, it is mild, and 4 to 6 is moderate, and more than 6 is here impending respiratory failure. Okay. So these are according to this scoring. You should know. You will know the severity of the respirations. Accordingly, you will act. Now, this is all about respiratory distress in children also. Now, we'll come to respiratory distress in proper to newborn. So, what are the stages of development? That's 5 stages of development. Okay, that is one is embryonic stage, then is pseudocalanicular, then pseudoglandular, then canalicular, then saccular, and alveolar. So why this is important? Because the embryonic stage is 0 to 7 weeks, pseudoglandular is 8 to 15 weeks, again cannular is 16 to 24, like this. Why it is important? Because in that stage, anything defect or any problem, any event occurs in that stage, then that growth of that lung or maturity of lung is stopped there only, and they will present different. Suppose in terminal sake or saccular stages. Suppose that baby delivered 20, that saccular stage is 25 to 36 weeks. Suppose when baby delivered at 32 weeks, then that long maturity stopped there only, and the baby will present as, suppose that baby is premature baby, and the baby will present as respiratory distress syndrome or Hyaline-Human disease. Suppose when baby delivered 36, 37 is terminal, 36 weeks, almost near term. That baby will present almost long matured occurs. So that baby will develop TTN, transient tachypnea newborn, or meconium aspirations. So according to the event occurs during the period of maturations, the baby will present like this, different, and the disease is different. And we have to manage this accordingly. So that's where you should know what are the stages of long development. There is 5 stages of long development, and what are the periods and what are the presentations. So this is the in term babies long, it is preterm babies long. So all mature, long mature. Now, how fast breath happens in newborn? To baby to inhale or do a fast breathe to occur, some requirements. What are the requirements? So all airways should be patent. Patency of all airways from the nose to the respiratory bronchus. Okay, all airways should be maintained. What are the requirements for first breath in newborn? These are patency of airway. Next, proper lung development. Lung parenchyma should be developed properly. Second, third thing is respiratory center. Maturity of the respiratory. These three things required for first breath in newborn. If these three things are going on properly, then the baby will breathe no desperate distress after delivery, and the baby respirate properly. Next is why there is first breath. How it starts? What is the stimuli? So that is hypoxia. What happened when inside the uterus, the baby is hypoxic state. Hypoxia means your saturation should be outside. Now our saturation should be arterial saturation should be above 90%. But inside uterus, the baby is breathing through only maternal, through his umbilical cord. So no, there is no expansion of the lungs. So whatever the arterial saturation, that is through mother. So saturation, arterial saturation of the baby in uterus is only 60%. Outside now, here outside it is 90 to more than 90%, but inside uterus it is 60%. That means the baby is in hypoxic state. Okay, so baby already in hypoxia. When the baby delivered, you will cut the umbilical cord. Again, the baby is, there is now no supply. Again, the baby went to your hypoxic. Again, hypoxic. Same time, carbon dioxide increase, pH increase. Okay, so baby will develop acidosis again. Okay, so all these are causes. Same times there is stimuli. You are handling the baby. Okay, so all this leads to a stimuli that stimulate the respiration. That's they are chemoreceptors. Okay, decrease PO2, increase CO2, again increase pH. Okay, all these and the stimuli, all these causes through chemoreceptor, it stimulates the respiratory center. That starts a breathe, first breath. Okay, we stimulated our respiratory center first breath, but same time your lungs should be ready to accept the air. So that will be done by surfactant. So surfactant is a lipoprotein that is present in type 2 alveolar cells in the alveoli. So what is the action of surfactant? Surfactant will reduce the surface tension. It reduces surface tension. That way it lowers the opening pressure. It lowers the opening pressure. Lower the opening pressure means easily the air can enter and the alveoli can open. So that is the action of surfactant. It will lower the opening pressures. Next, whatever then, even if the alveoli is open, but inside the alveoli no air, all fluids are there. So that should again the clearance of lung fluid also. So when there is normal during delivery process, due to squeezing, that the compression of the thorax. At that time, what happened due to squeezing or that is compression of thorax, some fluid will go out or come out from the alveoli. And same time, due to normal delivery process, some steroids are released, some hormonal release, that causes further changes in epithelium of the alveoli. That causes further clearance of fluid to the interstitium. From the interstitium through vascular space, it will come out. Okay, that is required for first breath. So for first breath, these are sequentially and step by step has to be happen. Next, once surfactant causes opening up, lowering of pressures, air ready to enter, your fluids are cleared. Now air enters. Once air enters, what's the action of air? Once air enters to the alveoli, it causes further, it displaces fluid. It further displaces fluid. Same time, what causes? It causes decreased hydrostatic pressure of the vascular. Okay, it displaces fluid and also decreases hydrostatic pressure of the pulmonary vessels. And due to decrease of hydrostatic pressures, the pulmonary blood flow to the lungs or the around the alveoli will increase. So when there is increased pulmonary vascular flow, pulmonary blood flow, so the lungs will get a large surface area for again fluid uptake. Those fluid went to the interstitial space, they easily went to the vascular space. So that is the action of air. Once air inside enter to the alveoli, that causes these changes. So again, once air enter, to maintain this breathing, body has to, or baby has to maintain functional residual capacity. That's the establishment of FRC. So when baby will take fast breath, in fast breath, the amount of pressure baby generated, that is 45 to 90 centimeter water, that is too high. So that pressure against your partially closed glottis, that pressure causes, means established a residual volume inside alveoli. So in fast breath, the pressure developed inside is high. Okay, that causes maintenance of establishment of FRC in alveoli. That causes further maintenance of the airflow inside the lungs. So initially, once baby will take 50 ml per kg of air on fast breath, so high volume of air. Out of 50 ml of air, only 20 to 30 ml of per kg air will stay as a functional residual capacity inside the alveoli. Rest out. So this is the about how to how to maintain a fast breath, or how to happen this fast breath in a newborn baby. But after this, baby has to do a breathing. What type of breath you will get in newborn? That is periodic breathing. What is periodic breathing? Here, like the newborn breathing is not same to our. The periodic breathing is maintained till your 6 months or till term. Okay, term baby also minimal, or sometimes they will present as periodic breathing. But periodic breathing is more in preterm baby. What is periodic breathing? Periodic breathing means they have 10 to 15 second normal respirations. After this, 5-second pause. There is no breathing. That's apnea. So hyperpnea, apnea, hyperpnea, apnea. That is 15-second hyper breathing, then 5-second pause, then again 5. Let's go periodic breathing. Periodic breathing more common in preterm baby because of immature brain immaturity, brainstem immaturity. Periodic breathing in some babies you will get, in term babies till 6 months you will get. So that is all about how to start a fast breath in newborn. So these are some perinatal history. From the perinatal history, you will know what is the cause, or what is the problem, or what is the disease in that newborn baby, newly delivered baby. So if there is some history of polyhydramnios in a mother, then always you will think there may be a congenital diaphragmatic hernia or tracheoesophageal fistula, which is the cause of respiratory distress in this newborn baby. If there is a oligohydramnios, history of oligohydramnios. What is polyhydramnios? Polyhydramnios when your amniotic liquor is more than 2 liters. Oligo, or you will say when it is that is your AFI, amniotic fluid index, is more than 18. That is polyhydramnios. Like oligohydramnios, when there is your amniotic fluid volume less than 500, or AFI is less than 5. That is oligohydramnios. So when there is oligohydramnios, there is chance of pulmonary hypoplasia, because due to less liquid, baby will be compressed to somewhere inside the uterus, so that pulmonary vessels not pulmonary development reduced or restricted. If there is a history of PRM, premature rupture membrane, then there is a chance of pneumonia. There is a chance of infections. So congenital, that is also cause of respiratory distress at birth. And suppose preterm delivery means there is restriction of development of lungs, stop or restricted. Development of lungs restricted. So baby will present as respiratory distress syndrome. And also meconium. Meconium stand amniotic fluid. If amniotic fluid is meconium, means there is chance of meconium aspirations. That is called meconium aspiration syndrome. So according to his present perinatal history, we'll think think that maybe a cause of respiratory distress this one. So accordingly, you have to prepare and you have to act. So according to duration, how to know what is the cause of respiratory distress in the newborn? Newborn means newly delivered baby. What is the cause? According to presentation of respiratory distress. Suppose first it all will be a preterm baby. Suppose a preterm baby present respiratory distress in first 6 hours. If first 6 hours, what may be the causes? These are the either if it is a preterm baby and present in first 26 hours, then it is always a hyaline membrane deletion. Second diagnosis may be a pneumonia or long anomalies. If baby will present after 6 hours, then always it is a pneumonia or congenital heart disease. Same time, if a torn baby, it is a torn baby present in less than first 6 hours, then it's always a TTNV. TTNV is transient tachypnea of newborn, or is a meconium aspiration syndrome, or maybe asphyxia, birth asphyxia. If baby will present, term baby will present after 6 hours, it's always a pneumonia first, then polycythemia or congenital heart disease. So according to the presentation in the hours of delivery, we'll think it's the maybe a cause. Accordingly, we'll prepare and we'll act or we'll support the baby. So here we will discuss some diseases that will common and that we can prevent, and we can support that support, so that baby will be better or will give a good life in future. So most common is choanal atresia. So when on baby deliver, when you resisted on baby, 3 opening you should know, or you should be clear about 3 opening. That is 2 choanal atresia and 1 anal opening. So choanal atresia, there is blockage of the backside of the nose due to either bony pathology or some soft tissue pathology. When there is choanal atresia, baby will present as respiratory distress. Okay, if bilateral close, then baby will die, or you have to immediately intervene so that baby will be okay. Next is tracheoesophageal fistula. What is tracheoesophageal? There is a fistula tract between the trachea and the esophagus. There is 5 types of tracheoesophageal fistula. Most common is that is upper part of the esophagus is closed and lower part is connected to the trachea with a fistula tract. That first, say 80% type 1 is most common. In that case, what happened when baby will present, that is drooling of saliva, froth. When baby will saliva, froth will come. Again, baby will present respiratory distress with first milk. When baby will take first milk, baby will present cyanosis because of aspiration, aspiration of the lung. So tracheoesophageal fistula baby will present like this, and other symptoms signs like respiratory distress baby will present. So these are the common causes which baby will present respiratory distress. Next, this is the tracheoesophageal. How to know baby having tracheoesophageal? You have to introduce a nasogastric tube or feeding tube, 8 size through the mouth. So if then you have to take X-ray. If it is a tracheoesophageal, there is coiling up. That feeding tube will be coiled up in upper pouch. Okay, if you get any coiling of nasogastric tube in the upper part of the airway or in the upper part of esophagus, then it is a diagnosis of tracheoesophageal fistula. See here, see this is coiling because upper part of the esophagus is closed. That is upper one part is one pouch. The esophagus is divided into 2 parts, upper part and lower part. Upper part is blind and lower part is connected to the trachea. So when you will enter one tube, it will be coiled up. It will come out through again mouth. So it is the diagnosis of tracheoesophageal fistula. Next, TTN. What is it? Transient tachypnea anemia. Transient anemia means first 6 hours baby will, and it happens in only tall babies and near-term babies, post-term babies. Because this transient tachypnea anemia is most common, it is self-limiting disease, and this is due to delay clearance of lung. What happened? And who is sufferer here? Those baby who are delivered by cesarean sections, diabetic mother, they are more prone for this TTN. Because during normal vaginal delivery, what happened during process, that all thorax or chest of the baby is compressed, so that some clearance of fluid occurs. Same time, some steroids, some hormones, some kinins are released. That causes changes in the surface epithelium of the alveoli. What happened? What is the surface epithelium of the fetal alveoli? That is your chloride sensitive secretory. So that function is secretions, so that you are getting fluid in the alveoli. But when there is normal delivery process, that chloride is epithelium will change to sodium absorptive state. Sodium absorptive, so that all sodium channels will come up, and that helps in absorption of liquid to the interstitial space. This thing normally happens during normal delivery process. But when the baby delivered through cesarean section, that not happen, that changes not happen, so that the liquid will be inside the alveoli. So the baby delivered, the baby developed respiratory distress after delivery. But slowly that long fluids will clear. Then after 72 hours, baby will be free of that respiratory distress. So baby that is a self-limiting process, self-limiting diseases, and that happen in cesarean section baby, term baby, or near-term babies. Okay, so TTN is a self-limiting disease. See, here what will get? If you take X-ray, you will get sunburst pattern. Means there is here you will get perihepatic sticking due to your fluid. You will get and coarse floppy densities like that will reflect alveolar edema. There is no ventilations, so you will get hyperinflation with widening of the intercostal space. These are the findings of X-ray in TTN babies. Now come to respiratory distress. RDS is a respiratory distress syndrome or hyaline membrane disease. It's more common in preterm babies. More common in preterm babies. So this is what happened in alveoli? There is type 1 alveolar cell, type 2 alveolar cell. So type 2 alveolar cells where the surfactants are there. What happened in hyaline membrane disease? Due to surfactant deficiency. What happened? What is the action of surfactant? I told you before. Surfactant causes reduced surface tension of the alveoli. So when there is reduced surface tension, it reduces the opening pressures. So you reduce the opening pressure so that easily air enter to the alveoli. But here what happened? Due to this surfactant production starts when 20 weeks of gestation. So 5 months of pregnancy, that surfactant production starts, and it is immaturely comes to the alveoli, to the alveolar type 2 cells production by 28 to 32 weeks. So by 28 to 32 weeks, it will immaturely present. Okay, and by after 30 weeks, it is that the surfactant is mature. So that action of the surfactant will start by 35 after 35 weeks. So those will be delivered before 35 weeks. They will free from that. They will not get the benefits of that surfactant. So what happened? Those will be delivered before 35 weeks. They will suffer this surfactant deficiency. And surfactant deficiency causes what? Collapse of the alveoli, because surfactant reduce the surface tension, thereby reduce the pressure and maintain the functional capacity, functional residual capacity. So when there is no surfactant, then that is collapse of the alveoli like this. See here, with surfactant, the alveoli are dilated or open clearly. Without surfactant, that is collapse of the alveoli. So that happens in hyaline membrane. So due to surfactant disease, there is collapse of the alveoli or atelectasis of the alveoli. Same times, that is what happened. Due to that, baby will develop hypoxemia, decreased oxygenation, decreased PO2, and sometimes there is carbon dioxide also increase, and also there is pH of the blood also increase. So and baby will develop acidosis. So that's the hypoxemia, hypercapnia. Increase of carbon dioxide is called hypercapnia. Hypoxemia, hypercapnia, acidosis, all that will cause damage to the mucosa. So when there is mucosa damage, there is release of, and that is when there is damage to the that epithelium, vascular endothelium membrane. That is leakage of protein to the alveoli, and this leakage of protein to the alveoli that causes a membrane formation of there is a membrane. That's why it is called hyaline membrane disease. So all things happens due to surfactant deficiency. Okay. So what is the next is what is the composition of surfactant? Surfactant is a lipoprotein. Lipo means the phospholipid plus a apoprotein. So what are the phosphatidylglycerol, phosphatidylcholine, and the apoprotein. Lipoproteins are like protein A, protein B, protein C, protein D. These are the proteins, and this is the lipid. So phospholipid production, that if there is a decrease in phospholipid production, or causes your decreased surfactant, and that is surfactant disease. This is the composition of surfactant. So this is the way. When there is surfactant deficiency, that inadequate surfactant, or structurally immature lung, there is collapse of the alveoli. When there is collapse of the alveoli, there is ventilations and perfusion. Perfusion means that mismatch occurs. So when there is ventilation perfusion mismatch, that was a hypoxia. Hypoxia means decreased oxygenation. Hypocapnia means increased carbon dioxide. Same time, baby will develop acidosis. Okay, so all these causes respiratory and metabolic acidosis. Both respiratory and metabolic acidosis causes pulmonary vasoconstriction. Oxygen always is a vasodilator of the lung, pulmonary vasodilator. Oxygen is a pulmonary vasodilator, whereas carbon dioxide is a cerebral vasodilator. So all this causes pulmonary vasoconstriction, and same time there is epithelial injury. All and that leads to fibrinous exudate or protein exudate to the alveoli, and that causes HMD. So this is the pathogenesis or pathology in your HMD. What are the risks? These are prematurity, maternal diabetes, those with cesarean delivery, breastfeed labor, fetal aspect. These are the risk factors first to development of a hyaline membranous lesion or respiratory distress syndrome in preterm babies. So other causes of other causes that cause surfactant disease. Not only that is due to prematurity, what are the other causes that also causes, like pulmonary hemorrhage, meconium aspect, any liquid, blood, meconium, pus, anything that decreases surfactant disease. So pulmonary infections, pulmonary hemorrhage, meconium, all these causes decrease in surfactant production, synthesis and production. That all leads to, so that suppose a pulmonary hemorrhage occurs in torn baby, that torn baby will present, not only preterm baby will present. Suppose meconium aspiration decrease synthesis, decrease production in torn baby also. So that baby will present as hyaline membrane disease. Okay. So presentation the same as our respiratory distress. All like baby will present poor feeding, lethargy, drowsy, respiratory distress, all are other signs of respiratory distress. Like this presentation is same too. So you have to remember lung profile. Is how to diagnose the case. How to diagnose the case. This is a long profile, like our lipid profile, our lipid profile. That's also long profile, like our renal function test, liver function. That is a long profile. What are the long profile? To know the long maturity, you have to do lecithin and sphingomyelin ratio. It should be always more than 2. If less than 2, then definitely immaturity of the lung. Other things are like FLM. This where you will get surfactant and albumin ratio. That should be more than 55. One more is lamellar body count. You have to count that more than 50,000. These are the long profiles you should do prenatally to know whether maturity of the lung. So lecithin, sphingomyelin ratio, TDX and FLM, lamellar body, and presence of phosphatidyl-glycerol. These are things you have to do to know the prenatally. You have to do to know the maturity of the lung. So this is the X-ray picture of the hyaline membrane disease in children. So again, that is how it will present. You will get reticular pattern of granularity. Get reticular like lines. You will get reticular pattern of granularity with AR bronchogram. These are AR bronchogram. See, these are AR bronchogram. This black is AR bronchogram because the air is coming through your bronchioles till respiratory. After respiratory, the respiratory bronchioles, that alveoli are collapsed. So air is not going to alveoli. So the air is inside the only your respiratory bronchioles or bronchioles. So you will get air inside bronchus. So that is called AR bronchogram. These are AR bronchogram. This black are AR bronchogram. Reticular pattern means you will get streak all over your single streak. So reticular pattern with AR bronchogram. Otherwise, when there is vesicle, the right side one is that is white out lung. Means totally here there is no aeration. That all lungs with our bronchioles are full of fluids. That is, so we will get white out lung. So white out lung is a severe RDS. Management. Here management is first you have to manage airway, A, B, C, D, like airway, breathing, circulation. Then 3 things in there. One is if it is a mild moderate, always CPAP. CPAP is continuous positive airway pressure. See, this one is continuous. So continuously you have to give in mild and moderate RDS, you have to give CPAP, bubble CPAP. That is bubble CPAP is continuous positive airway pressures. You have to give. So continuously you give small pressure so that it will open the alveoli. So you have to maintain, because postnatal, even if in antenatal there is no production of surfactant, in postnatally after 72 hours, body will start to produce surfactant. So you have to maintain that first 72 hours to open your alveoli. So you save the baby first 72 hours. You once baby will save for first 72 hours, you will give support to the first 72 hours. After 72 hours, body will start produce surfactant. Okay, then gradually baby will be cured. So your first treatment is your any baby delivered, any baby premature baby, when you are expecting one baby will be delivered before 32 weeks, be ready to give first CPAP, bubble CPAP, give positive airway pressure, ventilation, so that you may open the alveoli, give some ventilations. Then main treatment is the surfactant. Main treatment is the surfactant. So that is you have to give surfactant. That is either prophylactic you will give, or that is earlier. Prophylactic means you are expecting one baby will deliver within before 32 weeks. Once deliver means you have to give. That is prophylactic. And early means you have to wait. If after 2 hours, if you are giving after 2 hours, that is early rescue. So to that, and you have to give surfactant. That is a method. That is ensure method. That is ensure method. That is ensure. Ensure method means intubate, surfactant, extubate. Means you have to intubate the baby. Okay, you have to put that endotracheal tube inside. Then you put in that's called intubate. Then you have to put give surfactant. After surfactant, you remove the tube. That is called ensure method. Ensure method, that is intubate, surfactant, extubate. You should remember this. These are the surfactant available. Surfactant available two methods. One is natural, one is synthetic. Natural means that is from animal source, and synthetic preparations. These are the different types of surfactants in synthetic and natural. So we are using Sarventa. Commonly, you are using Sarventa and Curosal. Curosal and dose will be 2.5 ml per kg. Sarventa is 4 ml per kg. So these are the surfactants available in our market, in natural surfactants and synthetic surfactants. Then how can you prevent that HND? By you are giving antenatal steroid. So you will give steroid. You antenatally before delivery you will give. You can prevent that surfactant is by surfactant HND. That is because if you give steroids, that will somehow mature the lung and continue to fulfill the production of the surfactant. So and steroids should be given before 34 weeks. Any mother going to deliver within 1 week deliver baby, some due to some risk factors, you have to give steroid. What are the steroids we are giving? We are giving betamethasone and dexamethasone. Out of these two, dexamethasone is somehow neurotoxic to the growing brain. So best is the betamethasone. Betamethasone is not available, you have to get dexamethasone. Betamethasone dose is 12 mg, 24 hourly you have to give, and 2 doses. Dexamethasone 6 mg, 12 hourly, 4 doses. So what is the effect of this steroids? What they will do? They reduce mortality. Also, they reduce the ventilation in ICU, long duration of stay. Reduce the duration of stay in ICU. Also, you remember, if you give antiretroviral, not only it will prevent HND, it will also reduce your IVH, is intraventricular hemorrhage. NEC is necrotizing enterocolitis, and BPD. BPD is bronchopulmonary dysplasia. So 4 things are reduced by antenatal steroids. Now, what is the contraindication where you cannot give antenatal? That is chorioamnitis. Suppose mother having infections. The infection 15 days before delivery. Suppose there is infection. So chorioamnitis, eclampsia. In these cases, you cannot give antenatal steroids. So what is the again? If you give steroid, what is the complications? What is the short complication? So if you are giving to steroid to the mother, then what you are expecting? You will get hyperglycemia in newborn baby. That baby, newly delivered baby, you will get hyperglycemia, hypotension, GI bleed. HOCM is hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. This thing you will get in short-term complication. What is the long-term complication? Long-term, say if you suppose you will get postnatally constipated, you will get cerebral palsy. These are the complications of steroids in newborn baby. Congenital pneumonia. Congenital also pneumonia, if baby will present after 6 hours. Term baby after 6 hours, always think it is maybe pneumonia. How baby will get pneumonia? That is from the mother. Baby will get infection. Mother. Most common is the group B streptococcus. Okay, then E. coli. So these are the and you will get same pictures like respiratory distress, signs of respiratory distress, and you have to know to diagnose this case, you have to take X-ray. Okay, so now one more thing is meconium asphyxiation. Meconium asphyxiation syndrome you will get when there is suppose baby due to any event or due to any distress, baby will pass meconium in the uterus inside utero and aspirate. That is called meconium aspiration syndrome. So what happened meconium? So there is a different three types of mild meconium syndrome, moderate meconium syndrome, and severe. There's three types of according to severity: mild, moderate, severe. What happened in meconium aspiration? That is pathophysiology. You will say that's mechanical obstruction of airways, chemical pneumonitis, and surfactant. So when there is aspiration of meconium, that decreases surfactant or inactivate the surfactant. Even if surfactant is there, due to aspiration of meconium, that inactivate the surfactant work. Okay, and same time due to aspiration, it will block. When this so when we will aspirate this meconium, that will close. When it will close small bronchioles, when it will close small bronchioles, we will get atelectasis. That is collapse of the alveoli. So baby will present atelectasis. Suppose when it will block the large pathway, large airways, there is partial obstruction. When there is partial obstruction, baby, the air will be trapped. That's air trapping. In that case, baby will develop air leaking syndromes. Air leaking is pneumomediastinum, pneumopericardium, pneumopericardium, pneumomediastinum. This is the air leak syndrome develop when that meconium block the large airways, that is partially blocked. When this meconium block the small airways completely blocked, you will get atelectasis. Some after 2 to 3 days of meconium aspiration, there is secondary infection. So baby will develop chemical pneumonitis. That will present like a pneumonia. So distress will be more. Okay. So again, due to the meconium aspiration, there is when there is collapse of the alveoli. When there is collapse of the alveoli, the pressure will be that shunt is that is flow from through Broca's arteries, that is right to left shunting also. So sometimes baby will develop pulmonary vascular hypertension. So in meconium aspirations, you will get atelectasis, air leak syndromes, chemical pneumonitis, surfactant inactivations, and pulmonary hypertension. That is called PPH, primary pulmonary hypertension. These are the pathology you will get or complication you will get in meconium aspiration. See, if one baby was delivered after 6 hours, if baby will having this meconium staining up the nails, then that means baby passed meconium 6 hours before delivery. If baby having this staining of the nail umbilical cord, that means baby passed 6 hours before delivery meconium. This is the pictures. If you take X-ray, this picture is same to a congenital pneumonia like picture. Floppy infiltrations, hyperinflated chest, and vascular markings will get. What is the treatment? Here also, first, if it is a vigorous baby means the baby is crying, means it's a vigorous baby, no need to do anything. Okay. If it is a non-vigorous baby, normally that baby is lethargic, means immediately you have to intubate the baby and suction, remove the meconium. Okay, then you have to give support, respiratory support. Either if it is a baby, suppose mild cases, mild or moderate cases, you have to start continuous positive airway pressure. Okay, if baby is severe, in severe mass, you have to give mechanical ventilation, so ventilator to maintain the oxygenation of body. Or if possible, here in this case also you can give surfactant as per the dose 2.5 ml per kg or 4 ml per kg surfactant you can give here. So these are the treatment of meconium aspiration. So in exam you will get, most normally it's a short case, you will get this hyaline membrane disease and meconium aspiration. Mostly we are asking about this hyaline membrane disease. Also you will get questions about antiretroviral steroids, surfactant, and hyaline membrane disease. Okay. Thank you.
होता होगा